I believe that the chuppah is not just a side thing. Chuppah is not just a ritual, but it actually is a
Looks like we've lost you, Rabbi.
That's fine. Can you hear me now? Okay, now you can. Sorry about that. Okay, so here we go. We're continuing with the secrets of the chuppah. So, yeah, there we go. So, ladies and gentlemen, give me another second. A few more people are entering, and I need to welcome them. Good thing this stuff becomes easier. Okay. Okay, one more person coming in. But okay, there you go. You're worried about being the center of attraction. Okay, nice to see Esther here, Rosalie here, and Jeffrey Brown. Very nice. Welcome, welcome. And
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone.
Good evening. Master Tov, Rabbi.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the mazel tov. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're continuing on the secrets of the chuppah, and I'm assuming you all can hear me well now. And give me again the thumbs up if you can hear me. Good, very good. Excellent. Okay, beautiful, beautiful thumbs up day. Top of the morning to everyone. The chuppah, like I was explaining, is a mystical roadmap for a happy, successful marriage. And we've been showing that. We showed how the ring ceremony teaches us about giving gifts, spoiling each other with gifts. We spoke about the declaration of the chassan that you are married to me, which is the equivalent of I love you, words of affirmation that we need to invest in marriage. And last week, we spoke at great length about the ketubah in the marriage, and that is basically the responsibilities that we promise each other to be busy with acts of service for each other. But today we're going to speak about another part of the chuppah. And if you recall, the chuppah is made up of different segments. And today we're going to speak about a part that's quite a mysterious part of the chuppah ceremony, which takes place after we make a blessing on the wine and we say the Sheva Brachot, 7 blessings, and then we break the glass, which we're going to talk about in another class. But after that, the chassan and kala are whisked out from under the chuppah and are taken to a room of privacy. So everybody wants to wish the chassan kala mazel tov and to be with them and to dance with them. What happens is it's counterintuitive. We take the bride and the groom, take them away from the photographers, from everyone. We say, now you have to stay in a room for 10 minutes together in a private room. And if they're lucky, they have some sushi in the room to eat something. Many of them have been fasting all day. So they break the fast in that room. Well, what goes on in the room? What is that room all about? What is the idea of having this room of privacy It's known as the room of Yichud, the Yichud chamber. Many shuls, they have a special room for the Yichud chamber. It's called the room of oneness. And where the bride and the groom are alone, sometimes the parents come in beforehand and they pour something for them to eat or to drink, but then the parents have to leave. And the photographers have to leave. Imagine the photographers are kicked out of that room. I mean, the all-powerful photographers who control the wedding from beginning to end, they have to leave the room. So my question is, what is the whole reason? Why is this such an important part of the marriage, that we should take the bride and the groom away from all the guests, from their parents even, and they're brought into this room of privacy? Now, halachically, in the old tradition, going back thousands of years, the way a marriage was conducted, there were two parts. There was one part which was known as the ring ceremony, which took place a year before the actual wedding itself, where the groom would give the bride the ring, and he would say, "You are betrothed to me with this ring, according to the laws of Moses, Israel." And a year later, they would have the wedding party. So what is the purpose of the two segments of the wedding? They would have the chuppah ceremony a year later, and the ring ceremony was earlier. So there's two parts to the marriage. One, in the halacha, it speaks about one is to forbid them to anyone else. So there are two steps in marriage. One is where before you get married, you can go out with anyone, right? You can date as many people as you need to. Once you have the ring ceremony, then you are forbidden onto anyone else. And having relations with anyone else after that ring ceremony would constitute adultery. But you're not yet considered married until you have the chuppah ceremony. So traditionally, they would have that a year later. If you notice in the blessings under the chuppah, it says al yedei chuppah v'kiddushin. Two things: chuppah and kiddush. Kiddushin is the betrothal ceremony, and the chuppah is the ceremony with the canopy. Like I said, those two ceremonies were separated. So the first acquisition, or the first coming together, was the ring ceremony, which made them designated for each other, dedicated to each other, to the point that they are forbidden unto anyone else. Hence the word kiddushin. And the Talmud talks about the word kiddushin comes from the word hektish. It's like the temple, like something that you dedicate to the temple, even though it's in your house, you can't use it anymore. It's now belongs to the temple, even though it's not yet in the temple. If you took, let's say, an animal, you said, this is for a sacrifice for the temple in the olden days. So once you've already designated it, it's designated for the temple. It belongs to the temple. You gave some gold and some silver for a donation to the temple. You can't touch that gold and silver anymore once you say, this is holy, this is dedicated to the temple. So in the same way, the man and the woman would dedicate themselves to each other in a process known as the ring ceremony, the kiddushin, the betrothal, which took place a year before the chuppah ceremony. But the bride and the groom still lived in their parents' homes or their own homes until a year later they would have the chuppah ceremony, and that's when they started to build their own home. And through the chuppah ceremony, they become then permitted to each other. So phase one is forbidden to the world. Phase two is belonging to each other. And that's accomplished through what's known as the chuppah. Now, of course, as Jews always, there's a question: what is the chuppah? Is the chuppah going on the four poles? Or is the chuppah the wine being drunk under the poles? What is the chuppah ceremony? In theory, it was the husband bringing the wife to a home that they were going to live together, bring her home. So is it at night when they go home? So Maimonides Rambam writes that there are many opinions of what actually that final part of the marriage is, the chuppah ceremony, which is also known as nisuin. Nisuin. What the Talmud speaks about chuppah? Chuppah is that second segment of the acquisition of the becoming one, of belonging to each other and being permissive now to each other. What is the ceremony that needs to happen? So Maimonides writes, Chuppah hainu yichud, that the main part of the chuppah is not the drinking of the wine. It's not the breaking of the glass, for sure not. It's not even when they live together at home. It's being together in privacy. So when the bride and the groom, when they come together privately in a room for 10 minutes and the two witnesses outside, they'll witness them being together, that is the actual marriage. And from then on, they are permitted to each other. So a lot of times the brides and the grooms, they ask me, what are we supposed to do in that room? There's all kinds of theories from the movies. You know what I mean? They come out and then they bring a sheet or something to show that they've had relations. That's only in the movies. The room of privacy is just to be together. You have to be together in a way, enough time that you could consummate the marriage. But nothing has to happen. It's just an amount of time that's spent together, the same amount of time that it would have to have relations with each other, kind of thing, right? And the Talmud, again, there's a debate. How long do you have to be in the room? So every rabbi gave a different opinion. One says it's as long as to fry an egg. The other one says as long as to run around the tree. Another one says everybody had a different opinion of how long that privacy, that moment of privacy that the bride and groom have to have after the chuppah, that they go into a room alone. How long does it have to be? But again, the idea is that they come together and now they're witness that they are now creating the family unit, and now they belong to each other and they can now live with each other. So that is known as a chuppah. So even though we generally refer to the chuppah as the four poles, they come under there, but that's more the ceremony that comes before the most important part of the chuppah, which is the Rambam says chuppah hainu yichud. That is the privacy of being together alone, which comes after the ceremony. So it's very important. That's why, right away the rabbis they whisk the bride, the groom, they put them in a room, because it is an essential part of the Jewish tradition of what a marriage is all about. So some people say, well, why would we have to do it? It's not so, it's just like some kind of old tradition going to a room. No. That is the most important part, perhaps, of the chuppah ceremony, is the privacy, the moments of privacy. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit that I told you until now, the halachic part of it. So you need to have halacha, you need to have two witnesses outside, the proper witnesses, and they witness that they're together for whatever period of time. Remember, I said the rabbis have different opinions. Today, most rabbis say between 6-7 minutes or 9 minutes, somewhere in that range. And they have to be in the room together, and nothing needs to be done in the room other than being in the room together privately. So one wonders, what's the spiritual side of it? What's the psychological side of it? What's the meaning of all of this, being together in a room together? Well, I think that the Torah is actually giving us an important key to what it takes to make a good marriage. For a good marriage, for marriage to be really good and successful, here comes another key to the Jewish heart. That is, you need to spend time with each other. People think that gifts, you give gifts, you buy off your bride or your groom, you buy a lot of things for them, physical things. That's the most important thing, but not true. Sometimes all they want is a little bit of your time. It's not just true with husbands and wives, it's also true with children. Children, you think you can get away with sending them to school, the best schools, or giving them a lot of allowances and things like that to make them happy, and buy them toys for Hanukkah, give them Hanukkah geld. No. Sometimes the kid wants just a little bit of your time. And so that is a key to parenting, private time, to give your child every, whatever it is, once a day or once every few days, or time. When I say private time, I mean like time that there's no distractions, just the two of you. and spend time together. And that's what I think the Yichud room really says. You want to have a successful marriage? Remember, you need to give each other the time of day. And we say time, private time together. We're not talking about, being in the same house, under the same, you could be under the same roof and you're not together, especially today with the cell phones and all of that. People could be sitting in the same couch and they're not together. That's why to me, Shabbos is such an important thing. Shabbos is a natural time that we can have private time. Shabbos, you get rid of the cell phones. You stop listening to just talking to each other, looking each other in the eye and talking to each other. This is a key. It could be years later in the marriage. Sometimes for some spouses, that's like the main thing. One of the great things about COVID, which I found, was a lot of couples rediscovered themselves by walking in the park together, spending some like nice, quiet time with each other. They'd sit down and somewhere in the middle of the forest on a bench or on a tree stump, or something, right? And just sit and talk to each other, like the good old days, whatever. They rediscovered each other. They rediscovered, like the Torah is brilliant. In the chuppah, it already shows the bride and the groom what it takes to make a good maker. For some people, this is like, it's like air, it's like breathing. They need that in the relationship. If they don't have the private time, they don't have the good quality time with each other, their whole relationship is depleted. Their whole, we call it the love tank, right? The love tank is depleted. They feel empty. They feel a void. Time with each other. Like I say, time with each other means, quality time with each other. I'll get to that just in a moment. I'll just tell a little story of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. He once told his doctor, one of his doctors, Dr. Ira Weiss, was a cardiologist of the Rebbe. So he recalls how the Rebbe once told him about how he cherishes the few moments a day that he spends with the Rebbe. Whenever the Rebbe used to spend, that was a busy man. He was busy beyond. He had all day. He was in the office and leading world jewelry, and at night he'd meet people till 1 a.m. But he told Dr. Weiss, he said, but to me, when I came home, always the Rebbitzin was always there sitting for me, waiting with a steaming, piping tea. She knew when I was coming. They tell her in advance, we had a tea, and they used to sit and talk about whatever. But they had spent that time every day together. Imagine, just a little background on this whole thing. Like, the Rebbe and the Rebbitzin had no children. They considered the Hasidim their children, right? But they didn't have any physical children. And the Rebbe was about 48 years old when the previous Rebbe, that means his wife's father, passed away. Rabbi Yitzchak Schneisen passed away in 1950. And the Rebbe initially told the Chassidim he doesn't want to be Rebbe. He refuses to be Rebbe. He doesn't think he could do it. He doesn't think it's for him. It's not his thing. Yeah, the previous Rebbe had also another son-in-law. There was a potential candidate. And the Rebbe refused. So what changed? His wife changed the whole situation. It's just brought down in many of the stories that his wife turned to him one day, a year later almost, after the Rebbe was refusing the Hasidim to become the Rebbe. The Rebbe was a very brilliant man. He was a little bit more reclusive. And he was an engineer. He worked in the Navy Yard in Brooklyn. He was an electrical engineer. Mm-hmm. He worked on many of the top secret submarines there, stuff like that. So he had a job. He also helped out a lot, Friedrich Rebbe, in the organizational side of Chabad. A lot of people didn't know him. He was a quiet guy. And his wife told him in 1950, it was almost a year after, she said, my dear husband, if you don't take over becoming the Rebbe, what's going to be with my father's work for 30 years? My father was a Rebbe for 30 years. Everything that he did will go to waste. So she was the one that pushed him to become the Rebbe. And we know there was never a Rebbe like that. He never took a vacation. He never took anything. He was like into it totally. But it was because of his wife that he became the Rebbe. It was her words of encouragement, by the way. It ties into words of encouragement. But it was her words of encouragement that made him move in that direction. So now, but that's ultimate self-sacrifice. She loved her husband so much, she found that was what he'd be successful in. She pushed him to become that. And she gave up having her husband all day long. Like, man, people don't have children, they spend a lot more time together. It's like now with COVID, you don't get to spend more time. So she had a husband nonstop. But now she gave him away to the Chassidim. But the Rebbe said to Dr. Weiss, he said, to me, the most important part of my day is that those few moments at night when I come home, whatever time it is, when I spend 10, 15 minutes, we sit down with the Rebbe and we talk. To me, that is a mitzvah. He believes, the Rebbe says, it's a mitzvah. He told us Dr. Weiss. He said, this is a mitzvah as important as putting on tefillin every day. I imagine for the Rebbe, put on tefillin, a holy Jew. He said, spending the time, the quality time with his wife is as important as putting on tefillin. Okay. Now one wonders, why did he compare it to tefillin? Why not compare it to some other mitzvah, tzedakah or whatever? He said tefillin. Why tefillin? I think because tefillin is our private time with God, right? Tefillin is like you put on the tefillin and you pray and you focus. You're not thinking when you wear tefillin, there's no distractions because you have that tefillin in the head to remind you you're praying now, right? It's like a focus instrument, tefillin. So the same way the Rebbe said is when he speaks to his wife, the time they spend together is a big mitzvah as putting on tefillin every day. It's powerful to me. It's powerful. That teaches us the importance of quality time. Quality time, because it doesn't need to be long time, but it has to be of a quality. It has to be totally focused. It's not without distractions. I remember once I was sitting with Goldie in a restaurant in Los Angeles. I remember the name of the restaurant. It's called the Fish Grill. It's a kosher restaurant. They serve nice big fishes. You get in the restaurant. And we're sitting there together, we're schmoozing, and I gave a look. I see a nice couple sitting right next to us, and the wife is talking to the husband. I'm saying to Goldie, nice couple, we're two of us are marriage professionals. Say, wow, they spend nice time, nice couple next to us, And he's nodding his head the whole time to whatever she's saying. She's talking and talking and talking, and he's nodding and nodding and nodding. Then I give a look. Under the table, he's holding a cell phone. He's nodding, but he's looking at the cell phone the whole time. He's not paying attention to a word she's saying. He's having a conversation with the cell phone, not with his wife. I said to Goldie, that's not private time. Private time is when you give each other the complete attention, not when you have a cell phone under the table. But this is what it's all about. It's about having that private time. And I think that is the lesson of the whole the chuppah. Say chuppah ha'niyichud. One of the main points of the chuppah is to give each other for many people that's like fresh air. I remember when we used to, Goldie and I, for us, private time was always very important. Quality time was always very, very important. Especially, I remember we used to have when our son Zalmi Elovashon was alive. So we used to raising a child is hard. Raising a special needs child is even more of a time-consuming thing. So we were busy with that. Besides for all the other things we do, we were busy with that 24/7. And but on Sundays, Zalmi used to go to the friendship circle. It was like an organization he used to go to, And then he went a little bit to Rena Foundation. So we had a couple of hours there. So I remember all week long, we looked forward for that. We used to go out for coffee. And that was like holy time for us. We'd go out for coffee and rejuvenate ourselves, rejuvenate our batteries, both as human beings and also as a couple. So it was very, very powerful for our marriage. It really was like a fresh, we always recall fondly those times we spent on the Sunday. And we still, till this day, we have this thing, we go out, possible on Sundays or other days, we go out to spend that kind of time where you feel just rejuvenated with each other, and you speak to each other and you talk and schmooze, and it can be about anything, but just the main thing is that you talk with each other. And that's what this key to a good marriage is about. I mean, a lot of people are busy, they work a lot, so it's very hard for them to have the time, especially for raising children. But even people raised, like I say, you need to find a time, a moment in the week where you can carve out that time. People that don't have a lot of time, you also could do like a shtickle honeymoon, where where we send the kids to the parents or somewhere else, and you go off somewhere. You go to a place, you spend a few weeks together. If you can do that. If you can't do that for a full-blown honeymoon, then you go at least a mini honeymoon. Right? Go away for a day, go downtown to a hotel or something, all to spend that quality time with each other. I'm not going to tell you how to do these things. By the way, whatever I'm saying here with this applies to husbands and wives, it also applies to children. It also applies to all relationships we have. Every relationship needs to be resuscitated with this private time. Like as Jews, with our relationship with God. It's not good enough that we just once a year we give God some time. We come for the high holidays, but we need to make it regular. Optimally be every day, a little bit time. When you daven in the morning, or at least on Shabbat, you give yourself quality time with God. Any relationship, like if you don't give it the time, it doesn't. You can't say, well, I love my wife, I love my husband. What do I need to do? No. A relationship you need to invest in, whether it's gifts, whether it's acts of service, whether it's words of affirmation. And today we're talking about the quality time. We need to invest in it. We need to pump into the marriage. Otherwise, it falls apart. So the same thing with, like I say, with God. If you don't give yourself a little time every day, at least once a week, every Rosh Chodesh, whatever, right? Something you need to put into it. So someone says, "What do I need to invest in my relationship with God?" Doesn't God know how much I love Him, or care for Him? Or yeah, it's true. But you want to have a relationship with God. You don't want to have just just be connected by the hip. A relationship, you need to invest in it. Of course, you love your parents love you. When was the last time you picked up your parent and spent some time with them? Or of course, your child knows how much they love you, how much you love them. But yeah, they know you love them, but a relationship is something we need to constantly be spending time in. We put time into it. Friends also like that. Like a lot of people think that friends is something. Friends, if you want, people say, I have no friends. It's a very good reason. You don't spend time with friends, you won't have friends. If you want to have a relationship with friends, you need to spend some time with them. You can't say, I don't have friends. Of course you don't have friends. When was the last time you picked up a phone and spent some time with a friend? You don't invest in it, you don't have a relationship. Right? So like I said, God loves us all. He loves us with his heart and soul. We love God. But want a relationship? Spend some time with God. So a lot of people look at prayer just as like a psychological thing for us, or as a spiritual thing. But I look at it as a relationship. You want to be in a relationship? Put some time into it. That's important. So, but you don't, like I said, you don't need to put a lot of time, but a little bit of time. Now, one time, Lubavitcher Rebbe came home to his wife, and it was summertime, and the Rebbe never went much on vacation. So it was summertime. So he says, wife, okay, let's go out on the porch, sit a little bit. They sat on the porch a little bit for half an hour. So the Rebbe said, now we fulfilled the mitzvah vacation. We fulfilled the mitzvah of the holiday. We spend outside on the porch, fresh air, nice trees. So what was the Rebbe? Was the Rebbe making a joke of going on vacation? No, he wasn't making a joke. There was a serious man. He wasn't making a joke out of it. What he was saying was that sometimes with an hour on the porch, you can fulfill your mitzvah vacation. It's quality time. Again, if it's quality time, you don't need a lot of time. You can have a little bit of time, and that does the trick as well. So this is what we have here, which is very, very important in our lives to accomplish this. Just give me a second there. Okay, so just returning to our original thought. Original thought is that the chuppah is a roadmap, is a guide to a successful marriage. Yes, it's a lot of technical things, like we said before, from the halacha, why we have to have the ring ceremony, why we have the ketubah, why we have private time. But each one of these things really is like an arrow to us, to tell us, if you want to succeed in your marriage, you need to do these few things. You need to give each other words of affirmation. You need to give gifts. You need to do acts of service. And today we spoke about quality time. So next week we have some more stuff to tell you about, some more secrets of the chuppah. And by the time we finish, you guys are going to be so successful in all of your relationships that it will be beyond. Okay. So I wish you all a good Shabbos, and nice to see a few new faces today. And you're always welcome. We learn every Thursday at 11 o'clock. So be there, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Happy Hanukkah, everybody. Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah.
Does anyone have any questions, by the way? Any questions? Anybody? Questions?
From the new baby.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you so much. Hopefully, if all's well, the bris will be on Shabbos. We hope so. So we'll see.
Oh, Mazal Tov.
Mazal tov.
Okay.
Mazel tov, mazel tov.
We'll see everybody. Thank you.
Yes.